Good day, this is the refreshing point. I ran across an interesting article which I would like to share with you. It is by Prevent Disease. It is titled, Learning Nutritional Geometry Will Be the Model of the Future to Understand Health. Considerable research has been aimed at identifying modifiable determinants of chronic diseases. But existing models for measuring health impacts of the human diet are limiting our capacity to solve obesity and its related health problems, claim two of the world's leading nutritional scientists in their newest research. Coronary artery disease, ischemic stroke, diabetes, and some specific cancers, which until recently were common only in high-income countries, are now becoming the dominant sources of morbidity and mortality worldwide. And although researched for decades, not one governmental establishment seems to be on the right path to curb the problem. Prospective epidemiological studies, some randomized prevention trials, and many short-term studies of intermediate endpoints such as blood pressure and lipids have revealed a good deal about the specific dietary and lifestyle determinants of major chronic diseases. WebMD evaluates almost every diet, but even they fall short of recommending an Eaters for Health approach, which addresses the fact that we must all tune in to our instincts, digestion, and the most informed decisions on the food we consume, rather than follow any specific diet claimed to be the best. 80% of people do not achieve successful weight loss or maintenance while on diets, and the reason is simple. Every person has a unique metabolism, and there is no perfect diet for every person. The spectacular advances in the first half of the 20th century with micronutrient-related diseases, human nutrition science has failed to stem the more recent rise of obesity and associated cardiometabolic disease. In the latest edition of Annual Review of Nutrition, Professor David Rubenheimer and Professor Stephen Simpson from the University of Sydney's Charles Perkins Center call for a radical rethinking of human nutrition science through a new framework called nutritional geometry. The accumulation of more than 20 years of research in the field, nutritional geometry considers how mixtures of nutrients and other dietary components influence health and disease. Rather than focusing on one nutrient in isolation, it is hoped this new model will assist health professionals, dietitians, and researchers to better understand and manage the complexities of obesity. Our framework, quote, our framework throws down the gauntlet to the whole field of human nutrition. It shows that the prevailing focus on single nutrients is not able to help us understand complex chronic diseases, and that an approach based on nutrient balance can help solve the problem, said Professor Stephen Simpson, academic director of the Charles Perkins Center. Human nutrition science has historically focused on a single nutrient approach, which is predicted on a lack of resources and micronutrient deficiency. For instance, the absence of vitamin C in human diets is a known cause of scurvy. But this traditional approach is no longer useful in the face of modern nutrition-related diseases, the authors argue, which are driven by an overabundance of food, an evolved fondness for foods containing particular blends of nutrients, and savvy marketing by the packaging food industry, which exploits these preferences. Quote, conventional thinking, which demonizes fat, carbohydrate, or sugar in isolation as causes of the obesity crisis, dubbed the single nutrient approach, has now run its course. we've provided a framework for not only thinking about but also experimentally testing issues around dietary balance. Much like the invention of the telescope or microscope, this framework offers a new tool with which to look at complex dietary problems and bring them into focus, end quote, said Professor Simpson. Quote, our new approach provides a unique method to unify observations from many fields and better understand how nutrients, foods, and diets interact to affect health and disease in humans, end quote, said Professor David Rubenheimer, who heads the nutrition theme at the Charles Perkins Center. Quote, the nutritional geometry framework enables us to plot foods, meals, diets, and dietary patterns together based on their nutrient composition, and this helps researchers to observe otherwise overlooked patterns in the links between certain diets, health, and disease. The new, end quote, the new model enables complex problems like obesity to be viewed from a variety of perspectives, from the impacts of nutrients on metabolism and the health of individuals, through to the sustainability of global food systems. Quote, although at face value more complex than the single nutrient model, our nutritional geometry framework can simplify the study of human nutrition in the long run by helping to identify those subsets of factors and their interactions that are driving negative health and environmental outcomes in our rapidly changing environments, end quote, said Professor Simpson. To illustrate the power of the approach, Professor Rubenheimer and Professor Simpson plotted data for the composition of 116 diets, compiled from previous published studies examining macronutrient ratios, parentheses, carbohydrate, fats, and protein, end parentheses, and energy intake in humans. Their model shows that protein was the strongest driver influencing diet, regulating the intake of fat and carbohydrate. This finding is consistent with the previous observed protein leverage phenomenon, in which the strong human appetite for protein leverages the intake of fats, carbohydrates, and total energy. Thank you for watching The Refreshing Point. I have put down a link below for this article and its resources if you would like to take a look. Thank you again for watching. Good day and good health.